Tonight, we'll defend Nigeria's democracy, declares the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, warns officers to remain apolitical in the discharge of their constitutional responsibilities. The PDP cautions against military intervention in Niger Republic, urges the president to cut cost of governance by reducing number of ministers in his cabinet. A strike in resident doctors vow to commence daily protests and picketing of the Ministry of Health from Wednesday next week to press home their demands. And ex-Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan taken into custody after he was handed a 3-year jail sentence over corruption allegations and calls for nationwide protests.
On Sports News tonight, Nigeria's The Tigress beat Senegal in Kigali 84-74 to win 4th consecutive FIBA Women's Afrobasketball title.
In what may be described as addressing the elephant in the room, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, has pledged to defend the nation's democracy in the face of the rising cases of military takeover of government in West Africa. The Army Chief also gave assurances of the loyalty of officers and soldiers to defend the nation's territorial integrity and ensure internal security against non-state actors. He was speaking at the passing out parade of officers of Executive Commission Course 1 of the Army School of Infantry in Jaji, Kaduna State. It's the passing out parade of officers of Executive Commission Course 1 of the Army School of Infantry, Jaji in Kaduna State. On grounds to witness the event are family members and friends of the graduating officers, traditional rulers, the military, led by the guest of honor, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, as well as other sister security agencies. Before delving into his note, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Lagbaja, mounts the podium to observe the march past by the graduating officers. And when it's time to address them, the Army Chief reminds them of the task ahead as they will be deployed to areas where their services are needed.
The Armed Forces of Nigeria and other security agencies are today confronted with a plethora of threats, which include the activities of the substantially degraded Boko Haram and Islamic State West African Province terrorist group in the northeast, abductions, kidnappings, and banditry in the northwest and north central, secessionist agitation by the indigenous people of Biafra and the Eastern Security Network in the southeast, and youth restiveness, crude oil-related and sundry crimes in other parts of the south.
Next, he reassures the nation of the commitment of the Nigerian Army, not just in the defense of the nation's territorial integrity, but also in defense of democracy.
Let me at this point remind all officers and men of the Nigerian Army that subordination of the military to constituted authority remains the most fashionable means of promoting military professionalism. I'm unequivocal in my belief that the only thing better than democracy for our country in this modern era is more democracy. By more democracy, I mean flourishing, uninterrupted constitutional democratic governance that promotes our values and the interest of every well-meaning Nigerian, irrespective of tribe or religious affiliation. The Army is working assiduously to protect the territorial integrity of our nation and support relevant security agencies in ensuring the security of lives and properties within the country.
Some of the outstanding officers were also called out for recognition by the guest of honor. Lieutenant General Lagbaja assures the officers that while they are out there performing their constitutional duties of defending the nation, their welfare will not be neglected in any way. And the Senate has formally condemned the recent coup in Niger Republic, while commending the president and the ECOWAS heads of state and government for their prompt response to the political crisis in that country. This was part of the resolutions of the upper legislative chamber today, announced by the president of the Senate, after the lawmakers rose from a closed-door session that lasted for nearly 2 hours before they commenced the day's ministerial screening. Senator Godswill Akpabio also clarified that President Bola Tinubu did not ask for approval of the National Assembly to go to war in Niger, as erroneously reported in some quarters. Instead, Senator Akpabio explained that the president merely expressed a wish to solicit the support of the National Assembly in the successful implementation of the ECOWAS resolutions. He added that the Senate leadership is mandated to further engage with President Tinubu on behalf of the National Assembly on how best to resolve the impasse in Niger. The lawmakers also called on the president to further encourage other ECOWAS heads of states to strengthen other diplomatic and political solutions to resolve the impasse, while pledging to support ECOWAS. Meanwhile, Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, is asking the president to jettison the thought of engaging in a war with Niger as a way of restoring democratic government in that country. The chairman of a PDP governors forum, Mr. Bala Mohammed, says the PDP also wants President Tinubu to cut down the cost of governance by reducing the number of ministerial appointees. The Bauchi State governor was speaking to journalists after a meeting of PDP leaders in the nation's capital, Abuja, which was held behind closed doors, with the party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, and his running mate, Ifeanyi Okowa, in attendance.
At the end of the meeting, the following communique was issued. 1. The meeting emphasized the need for party discipline and reiterated zero tolerance for anti-party activities and sabotage. No individual or group of individuals will be allowed to undermine the unity of the party and its processes. 2. The meeting committed to repositioning and stabilizing the party. To this end, the healing and reconciliation process are in progress, and I am happy to report that they are yielding results. The meeting counselled the federal government to show leadership in curtailing the cost of governance. 47 ministers and several special advisors and assistants would be reduced to ensure the health of our economy by reducing cost. Number 8, the meeting advised the President, Commander-in-Chief, and the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria not to go into any form of war with the Republic of Niger over the recent military coup in the country. Rather, all tools and dialogues through the diplomatic means should be explored.
Now let's return to the National Assembly, where the Senate has stepped down the screening of the last 2 ministerial nominees and adjourned until Monday to enable them complete their documentation. Well, the outstanding 2 are Dr. Maria Bunkure, who replaced Mariam Shetty from Kano State, and Mr. Festus Keyamo from Delta State. Before the adjournment, the Red Chamber had screened 5 nominees for the day, making it a total of 46 nominees screened so far. Among those screened today were Bosun Tijani, who spoke on his area of expertise, technology, after apologizing to the senators over his tweets, which were considered insulting to the nation. The first to appear before the Senate for today was Lagos State nominee Lola Adejon.
The skills I have will help in bringing increased revenue to the country. It will help to improve fiscal and operational efficiencies. It will help in management of poverty alleviation. It will help in management of information on school children. It will help in managing our infrastructure maintenance and so many other things. Without technology, we'll be living in the past. We need to move forward and we need to live in the future.
I believe and care deeply about the potential of Nigeria as a prosperous country that is driven by innovation. This has been a strong motivating factor in all I do, and I've spent the last 15 years contributing to deepening the technology innovation ecosystem in Nigeria and Africa through extensive collaboration with some of the world's largest technology companies and development agencies. I'm particularly passionate about enabling and supporting homegrown solutions to some of the most critical challenges in sectors like education, public health, agriculture, trade, and governance. It is my conviction that we must prioritize the role of technology and innovation in raising the productivity level across our economy. We can leverage technology to increase the contribution of multiple sectors such as education, creative industry, financial services, manufacturing, agriculture, transportation, security to our GDP. Many of the prosperous nations that we admire have been built on a strong foundation for innovation. We are a blessed nation with significant young population, which is a critical resource for harnessing the opportunities offered by technology and innovation in support of Mr. President's stated goal of building a prosperous Nigeria for all. My commitment to His Excellency, Mr. President, to you, distinguished senators, and indeed all Nigerians, is to give my best with the same passion and conviction that I've demonstrated all my life to achieve the President's economic and prosperity agenda.
Well, to security now, the Benue state government is developing a strategic plan to end all forms of crisis in the state, including the farmers-herders conflict. The Director General of the Benue Commission for Peace and Reconciliation, Mrs. Josephine Haber, stated this during a two-day workshop on peace building, reconciliation and climate change in Makurdi, the Benue state capital.
Benue, a food basket of the nation, has faced its share of insecurity, leading to many abandoning their homes and trade. According to the United Nations, over 2 million people live in IDP camps in the state. This meeting is put together by the Benue Commission for Peace and Reconciliation in collaboration with non-governmental organization, International Alert, and the Office for Strategic Preparedness and Resilience to address some of the conflicts in the state.
The government, as a matter of urgency, must prioritize youth development and engagement as a panacea to conflicts. Infrastructural development is important, but it must be coupled with human structural development.
One issue that remains thorny is the anti-grazing law in the state.
I want to tell members of the Ministerial who are members of the group heading animals in our country that cattle rearing is no longer feasible for wild movement. Ranching is the solution.
This law somehow is very harsh to our people due to their knowledge. You understand? So we need to apply strategies to get this solution in a very strategic way.
However, the organizers have different ideas on how it can be resolved.
Together, we intend to advance the cause of peace in this state, to advance the cause of justice, and to advance the cause of development. And so we call on all stakeholders, all people of goodwill, to join forces with us as we drive the peace agenda in this state.
The farmers will also take it from the point of view of the fact that they also are very important in this discourse. Without them, the people even rearing the cattle will not be there because they need to eat. So we will bring this, all of this, put this together, coordinate these teams, everyone that is responsible. What we will not accept is the crisis entrepreneurs.
For the last time, farmers and herders in the state are agreeing to find a lasting solution to the conflict. They commit to work on peaceful engagement going forward.
In part two, after the break, striking resident doctors vow to commence daily protest and picketing of the Ministry of Health from Wednesday next week to press on their demands. That's in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. We'll defend Nigeria's democracy, declares the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, as he warns officers to remain apolitical in the discharge of their constitutional responsibilities. PDP cautions against military intervention in Niger Republic, urges the president to cut cost of governance by reducing number of ministers in his cabinet. Striking resident doctors vow to commence daily protest and picketing of the Ministry of Health from Wednesday next week to press home their demands. And ex-Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan taken into custody after he was handed a 3-year jail sentence over corruption allegations and calls for a nationwide protest. In recent times, fingers have been pointed in the direction of the Nigerian Navy regarding the menace of crude oil theft in the country. But this seems not to be sitting well with the Chief of Naval Staff, who is questioning the veracity of such claims. He made his position known while fielding questions from journalists at the Nigerian Navy ship Pathfinder in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, during his maiden visit to the Navy's facilities in the state.
The issue of allegation of involvement of our personnel in oil theft, this is the age of social media. And many people who do not even have the full details, they just put something up there. But if you go through some of those allegations and you investigate them, you find out that the basis of those allegations are unfounded. For instance, somebody will just see a vessel somewhere, he will say, oh, the military are involved. He doesn't even know whether there's proper approval from NNPC for that vessel to load. But he will put it on social media that he saw some military men on board the vessel and that vessel is engaged in illegal bunkering without having the correct information. But whatever the case may be, anytime we receive such allegation, we investigate it properly. So far, our investigations have been showing that most of the allegations are not true. But each time, we still respond to them by investigating properly so that if there's element of truth in it, we hold the personnel responsible and we apply the law according to the Armed Forces Act.
Elsewhere, the Zamfara State Police Command has foiled a planned attack by bandits and Muslim worshippers who were observing Friday prayers at the Quarter Village in Zermi local government area of the state. Spokesperson of the command, Mr. Yazid Abubakar, made this known while addressing newsmen in Gusau, the state capital. He says a distress call was made to police operatives after 5 armed men, suspected to be armed bandits, were sighted on 2 motorcycles heading towards the village. One of the suspects was killed in the ensuing gun battle. So off matters now. In Lagos State, the Medical Guild has reacted to the death of Dr. Ware Diaso in an elevator crash at the General Hospital, Odon. The chairman of the Lagos chapter, Dr. Said Ahmed, says the state government must prosecute anyone found culpable in the accident. He explains that the elevator has been malfunctioning since 2021 and appeals to the government to withdraw the services of the elevator installer. This is coming as the investigation panel given 48 hours to submit a report of its initial findings today. As at the time of this report, it is yet to do so, while government says the elevator installer has been handed over to the police.
No effort must be spared to investigate thoroughly, to identify and bring to book any and all individuals, groups, agencies, private or government, that contributed in any way to this disaster. All infrastructures and facilities within public health institutions, such as Lagos Island Maternity Hospital, Infectious Disease Hospital in Yaba, and indeed all public health institutions in the state must be under a direct supervision of the host hospital management and stagger step, multi-level, minimal responsibility supervision should henceforth be removed. We also demand that the current facility manager in charge of critical infrastructures within the premises of General Hospital Lagos be immediately disengaged and blacklisted by the state government.
Meanwhile, there seems to be no end in sight to the ongoing face-off between the federal government and the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, as the doctors have vowed to commence daily protests and picketing of the Ministry of Health beginning from Wednesday to press home their demands. The latest demand is in response to the directive by the federal government to enforce no work, no pay policy on the doctors who are currently on an indefinite strike. A statement signed by the President and Secretary of the Association directs all its members to begin the protest and picketing of all states and federal tertiary health institutions across the country. The doctors are accusing the government of ignoring their demands, which include the immediate payment of salary arrears to their members, payment of arrears of hazard allowances, and the implementation of a new salary scheme for medical doctors. Away from health, the World Bank says it will continue to support the connection of Nigerian communities to electricity through the collaboration with government and members of the private sector. Well, this is according to the president of the World Bank, Mr. Ajay Banga, who is concluding his official visit to Nigeria with the commissioning of a mini-grid in Petty Community in Kwali Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. Mr. Banga explains that such interventions are to improve the livelihood of community dwellers.
Welcome to Petty, a largely agrarian community in Kwali Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. Over the years, residents of this community have suffered from a lack of access to electricity, but that is about to change as the World Bank president, Mr. Ajay Banga, in the company of other government officials, take a tour of a 60 kilowatts mini grid in the community. The mini grid is co-financed by the World Bank under the Nigeria Electrification Project and implemented by the Nigerian Rural Electrification Agency.
In total, across all the effort we're putting into this work on mini-grids, we will eventually try and get about 1,000 mini-grids put up across Nigeria. Today, we're at numbers that are closer to 150. We're putting another 300 in, but our ambition with the government is to go all the way to 1,000. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that are being invested from the World Bank, but then add to that the hundreds of millions of dollars that are being invested by private entrepreneurs and the government's effort here. Second, you're creating jobs.
From households to shops and this borehole, and then a visit to the chief's palace. The project is expected to impact on the lives of residents of the community.
Many countries around the world have gone through an urban-led development model which automatically creates challenges of reaching services to the last place in a rural area. Ideas like this change that model, don't rely on some very expensive grids to reach every village, but empower the local village with local facilities to change the lives of local people.
Solutions like this will bring immediate succor in providing power to the communities that can transform their lives, their systems, and as you can see, the main economic activity in this area is production of melon. They require a lot of water to produce this melon. Prior to this time, they used to trek long distances to far-flung streams and rivers in order to get this water. But here you are, right in front of their houses. They could produce water and then use it to produce the melon and improve their economic activities.
Petty community has about 217 households, 47 small businesses, and about 1,500 people. They speak about their experiences.
Since we get the lights, we benefit with the lights. We use the lights to pump water. We use the lights to wash melon, wash cassava, so many things.
This light has done a lot. Even my business, I have expanded my business also. Because before we used to close early because of no light. But now we close late hour, let me say 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock sometimes. You see people full street in the night because there's light everywhere.
This intervention is one of the latest from the World Bank in collaboration with the federal government and the private sector. There are also plans to increase this intervention across the country.
In Bauchi State, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has launched the Special National Economic and Livelihood Emergency Intervention for victims of the 2022 flooding and the most vulnerable people. Over 13,000 households in the state have been enumerated to benefit from the support. Our correspondent Hajara Ali reports.
In 2022, about 3,000 people were affected by flooding across Bauchi State. 29 people died, more than 8,000 houses were destroyed, and over 4,000 farmlands submerged. This is according to statistics from the Bauchi State Environmental Protection Agency. Some of the people affected are receiving relief items brought by the National Emergency Management Agency under the Special National Economic and Livelihood Emergency Intervention. The items are in categories which include seedlings, food items, sewing and grinding machines, and others. The NEMA officials in charge of the distribution explained that the exercise will be done in 3 phases.
About a month ago, our officers came here and did enumeration and capturing of what beneficiaries. I'm sure we went around all the local governments, about 15 local governments in both states. So we went there, we captured the beneficiaries. And each beneficiary will have a basket. Some are for what? Seedlings. Some are for livelihood items. Some are for what? Non-food items. This morning we went through the store and take inventory of all the items on ground before we start bringing them out to tag it. And you can see we are starting with Bauchi local government, being the state capital, because of the timing in the information to the various local government. And we are hoping by tomorrow, next tomorrow, other local government will be getting set, then we'll move to the various local government.
This group are receiving farm inputs. Some of them lost their crops to last year's flood.
This support will boost my farming, and I thank those who selected me to receive this intervention.
Some of these women are going home with livelihood items.
It will help me to maintain the situation in the country, and so I will help my children and other relatives with it, inshallah.
7 local government areas are captured in the first phase of the distribution. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Well, still to come on the news at 10, Taraba State Governor Agbu Kefas clamps down on illegal miners, orders the destruction of all illegal mining equipment in the state. Join us again. Back to Lagos, the reduction in transportation fares by 50% on state-owned public transportation operated by the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority has taken effect. While some residents commend the government for the palliative, those in the private transport sector are asking the government to come to their aid, as a fuel subsidy removal is negatively affecting their business as well.
The effect of subsidy removal is taking a toll on citizens, from cost of feeding, high inflation, and above all, transportation. Government at the federal and state level is not ignorant of these challenges confronting the country. And to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy, the Lagos State Governor announced a 50% fare reduction on bus rapid transit, first and last mile buses, as well as water transportation operated by the state.
All public transportation that are being controlled by Lamata, all of the high-capacity buses will be plying all the routes of Lagos at 50% discount.
Since that announcement, there seems to be a rush for the purchase of carry cards, which serves as a means of payment for state transportation. Getting access into the BRT bus requires the use of a reloadable prepaid card that must be tapped at the entrance to confirm payment. Passengers who board BRT from Berger bus stop confirm partial deduction.
As against 400 naira per trip from Berger to Yaba, they now charge 250.
As we are tapping in, it has been reflected. We are happy. We are now paying 250 to Island to Yaba from Berger.
It is still not the solution because a lot of people could not even accept this very well. So, but if the vehicle will be available, especially those of us traveling to Ajah, I think it's all right. Unlike 2,000 that we have to take it from the bus stop.
We made a stopover at the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority to speak with the head of bus service department on the time frame for the palliative measures on transportation, which does not include Lagos Ride.
For this period, we implemented, but I'm not going to say maybe it's going to take, but to cushion the effects right now, what's happening right now.
The price cut has also been implemented on state water transportation services. But passengers want more boats procured for easy and fast movement.
Previously, before this time, the Lag ferry had been going on 1,500 per trip from Ikorodu down to Falomo and backwards. But with the announcement of the governor, it had been reduced to 750 naira for the Lag ferry. While the local boat operators they've remained stagnant at their own 2,000 naira per trip, and this has not been worked upon either by them.
Most of the time, we don't meet up with the Lagos State boat, which is Lag ferry. So we don't usually meet up with them because they have shortage of boats.
The issue there is, if you buy the ticket, you won't know the boat you are taking. Whether it's a big boat, so if you're in a hurry, you weigh your options. Then that is the issue with government-run ferry services.
The General Manager of the State Waterways Authority, Oluwadamilola Emmanuel, says the government is engaging private operators on the waterways to cut down their charges and acquire more boats for passengers.
Lag ferry has slashed their own prices, and now we're in conversation with the private operators, especially because, as you know, the private operators are all coming together. They've actually had been fragmented before, but they're all coming together now under one umbrella. On road transportation, we've seen how, Lamata and of course the Ministry of Transportation has been able to ensure that they are as one, and that's the same thing we're currently doing for the waterway, because any kind of reduction in prices has to work with one singular unitary system.
Some who have experienced the price reduction on public and private vehicles share their experience, while other commuters says the price remained the same.
We do go out every day, and nothing of such have been implemented.
Normally, K2 used to be 400 naira before the governor's announcement, but now, yesterday I paid 300, some even said they took it at 250. So at least there's a little bit of significant drop.
At a time like this, it's not just the passengers that need some form of support. The e-hailing cab operators also call on the government to come to their rescue and offer some relief.
To be sincere with you, when we summon everything together, both Uber, both InDrive, and what have you, we are up to 60,000 drivers doing this job. We move about 1.5 million customers in the streets of Lagos per day. Summon that money together and see how much is coming to the Lagos State government. Despite the contribution of our industry, the Lagos State is yet to recognize, number one, they are yet to factor in all the palliative and whatever that's coming to this transport industry.
Palliative and transportation is the first step taken by the Lagos State government, but residents feel more drastic measures must be taken to alleviate the suffering of the people even as they look forward to the distribution of food items to the vulnerable.
Now to Taraba State, where Governor Abu Kefas has given a fresh order to the 17-man task force on the ban on mining activities in the state to destroy every equipment they find on sites used for illegal mining activities. According to the governor, the task force will soon embark on an operation to clean up criminal activities to ensure that internally generated revenue is better organized for the development of Taraba State. The governor was speaking when he received the task force committee report and inaugurated another committee on assets recovery.
This task force, you still have my mandate. You will continue your operation. Any equipment that you see on site without anything, destroy it. Destroy it. It's better to destroy equipment than to cause lives of people. So this is an order and it must be followed. So all that you require to carry out this job effectively, we'll make sure we support you. I'm aware of some people trying to blackmail the task force. It's usual. These are things they do. Even when I was in the Niger Delta, I was doing my work. There's no any accusation that they didn't accuse me of, but I remain focused. They don't even have the proof, they don't even have the evidence. So don't listen to anybody, make sure that your team are intact.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the international community to mark the 2023 World Breastfeeding Week, a call is going out to policymakers and employers of labor to support nursing mothers to exclusively breastfeed their babies. Well, the Federal Ministry of Health, along with the development partners in Abuja, began the week-long exercise with a road walk to sensitize women on the need to exclusively breastfeed their babies for at least 6 months.
Officials of the Federal Ministry of Health and development partners in the health sector gather at the premises of the Ministry of Health as they prepare for a road walk to mark the 2023 World Breastfeeding Week. The roadshow is to raise the awareness of nursing mothers, employers of labor, and policymakers on the need to promote exclusive breastfeeding for at least 6 months.
You must exclusively breastfeed your child for 6 months for you to get the best out of that breast milk. When you breastfeed a child for 6 months exclusively, the immunity of that child is built against any sicknesses, any diseases, any infection.
We want to encourage breastfeeding up to 2 years, but essentially exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, and then breastfeeding up to 2 years with complementary feeding for the child.
Distributing flyers as they go, the health officials advocate the need for employers of labor to provide an enabling environment to support breastfeeding mothers in their places of work.
We are calling on governments, we are calling on employers. We already know the benefits of breastfeeding. The next thing we need to do is to match our knowledge with action. Match our knowledge with action by 1, optimal paid leave, up to 6 months or even more for working mothers so that they can continue to breastfeed. Ensure that our workplaces are breastfeeding friendly. Ensure lactation and breastfeeding rooms in all our offices so that women, when they return from their leave, can continue to breastfeed.
Policymakers, employers, and managers should set aside a breastfeeding cubicle for these nursing mothers.
According to the 2022 UNICEF report on infant nutrition, an estimated 2 million babies in Nigeria suffer from acute malnutrition, with 32% of children under the age of 5 having stunted growth. The report further states that only 34% of babies are exclusively breastfed by their mothers. Health workers and nutrition experts who join in this roadshow are hoping to scale up infant nutrition in Nigeria by creating awareness on exclusive breastfeeding and pushing for policies that will encourage working-class mothers to breastfeed their babies.
Business news now. Credit ratings agency S&P Global has upgraded Nigeria's credit outlook from negative to stable. Well, the positive outlook comes after President Tinubu implemented significant changes, including the removal of costly fuel subsidies and unification of exchange rate. Analysts believe that if these reforms are effectively implemented, they could lead to improved growth and fiscal outcomes for the country. However, the country's credit rating remains at B-, which is 6 notches into the junk category, on par with countries like Bolivia and Barbados. Also, despite the positive outlook, S&P says Nigeria's planned fiscal spending and inflation levels remain high. The federal government says it is set to launch a digital hub that will empower 1 million youths across the country with digital skills. According to a statement from the Office of the Vice President, the scheme, known as FGN Alert Digital and Skill Innovation Hub, will kick off first in Lagos and Benue states, in partnership with one of the country's financial institutions, NEMA Bank. Under the scheme, grants will be provided through a collaborative arrangement between the federal government and the bank, with 500 million naira set aside for SMEs and techpreneurs. The training will cover a wide range of in-demand tech skills such as software engineering, product management, business analysis, cloud computing, and product design. About 171,107 end-user customers have been metered in the first quarter of this year, and that's according to data from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission's Q1 2023 electricity report. Well, NERC says that the figure represents a 3.95% increase when compared to the 164,612 meters installed in the fourth quarter of last year. The report shows that out of these assigned meters, the National Mass Metering Program scheme accounted for 5.80% of the meters, while the meter asset provider, that's MAP intervention, covered 92.71% of customers. Let's head over to the Nigerian equities market, which edged higher this week as investors' interest in MTN Nigeria drove the all-share index higher by 0.22% to 65,198.08 points. Elsewhere, activity levels remained weak as the trading volume and value declined by 9.8% and 21.3% week on week. Meanwhile, sectoral performance was mixed as the insurance, consumer goods and industrial goods indices recorded gains, while the banking and oil and gas indices declined. Top performers for the week, Sunu Assurances Nigeria led that chart, followed by Chelarams and Bay Mortgage Bank, while John Holt PLC led the losers. The trio of ICO, FCMB and Transnational Corporation PLC led top trades by volumes, accounting for 636.2 million shares traded in the week. Also, the NASD OTC Securities Exchange Index closed the week well in the green. The unlisted equities index rose more than 3%. Meanwhile, turnover was mixed. Volume traded fell by more than 0.5% to 18.19 million units, while value rose 486% to close at 1.8 billion naira. Acorn Petroleum topped the gainers for this week, while Geofluids led the decliners. And trading in top 3 are VFD Group, Geofluids, and Industrial and General Insurance. And now to the entertainment space, where top Nigerian artists have now become global music icons and are selling out big venues that some other international artists can only dream about. But this, of course, has created new opportunities for Nigerian music and its artists in the global music space. In this next report, we take a look at how the current globalization of Afrobeat sound can impact the music scene back home in Nigeria.
Afrobeats music now resonates around the world. London, New York, Delhi, Dubai, and all other big stages across the globe. It's a good time for the Nigerian music. Amid these music dominance, some industry practitioners, however, believe not enough trickle-down effect is experienced in the industry back in Nigeria.
We talk about Afrobeats taking over the world, but the genre will not grow to its full potential if back home we don't have concert venues, for instance, proper concert venues that allows for this talent to tour. Say this year, Benue, of course, has been dominant over the last few years. I don't know that he's played up to 5 shows on the continent, and that's because some of this infrastructure are just missing.
Others say, yes, the names on the shows are Nigerian, but the companies, the promoters, music imprints and other industry gatekeepers are the same foreign old names. And they are the chief winners in this global rise of Afrobeats.
See, people like to jump on the bandwagon. The people that are making the craziest money from Afrobeats, they are not the guys that started the culture. They are not Nigerians. They are making the craziest. Some of them are not even the artists. They are smart business people. They jump on anything that is trending, anything that is big, anything that the world is listening to. They get the money. Some of the biggest platforms in the world, you'll be amazed. And the people behind it, they're the ones doing the business. We make a lot of noise. We talk. And they say it's cheap.
Dallas-based Nigerian music promoter Addison Obiagu, popularly known as Big A, has been promoting Nigerian artists in America for almost 2 decades now through the African Magazine Music Awards. He has seen the industry grow and believes there are obvious positives for not just the Nigerian music industry, but also for the country at large.
You think about someone like a Burna Boy, he makes $1 million, $1.5, $2 million per show. There's no way 50-40% of that money doesn't come home. And you also have to understand that everybody that travels with him, they're from here. 80% of his crew, his entourage, they're from here. So these kids are providing a lot of employment. Like you have to understand that. So you're thinking about, the gatekeepers, of course, they're making money. They have to make money. Those are the international labels, the distribution companies, of course, but majority of the money is coming back home.
Back home, the Copyright Management Organization, the Musical Society of Nigeria, MCSN, is looking through the new amended Copyright Act to account for all exploitations of Nigerian music, even on global streaming platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music and the likes, and even from performing international concerts.
No, there are so many levels of exploitation recognized by law. If, for example, the artist is there on his own to perform for them, the artist will collect his performance fee, definitely. But it is the content that we are after. So, because the artist, is performing some contents there, whether it is the artist that composed the content or not, the content belongs to us. I mean, the rights in the contents belongs to us. Because most of the times, it is not the artists that you see dancing, jumping, singing that are the writers or the composers of those contents. Many of the works are written by so many people whose face we don't know, who are not the one really singing. And this money is meant for those people, while the artists have their own too. So when we go in there, we collect for everybody, and when we come back home, at the back end office, we share, we give to people what is their due.
The challenge with this, however, is that most of the big-named artists are unregistered to MCSN or have their works already assigned to international copyright management organizations as prescribed by their international record labels. The ovation around Afrobeat is still very loud at this time, which means now is the best time for the industry to be strategic. And just like the American pop star said, it's best to listen to the music while the record plays.
And now to sports news. Nigeria's D Tigers have won Afro-Basket Championship title for the fourth consecutive time. Nigeria defeated Senegal 84-74 in a keenly contested final in Kigali to lift the trophy. Mujanatu Musa registered 12 rebounds and 2 steals, while Ifunaya Okoro scored 16 points and provided 2 assists to power Nigeria to a 6th title on the continent. Coach Wakama becomes the first female head coach to win the FIBA Women's Afro-Basket. Altana Bomati netted 2 well-crafted goals as Spain thrashed Switzerland 5-1 at the Women's World Cup to clinch a quarter-final berth for the first time in their history. Switzerland kept 3 clean sheets to top Group A, but it took a mere 5 minutes for midfielder Bomati to breach their defense for the first goal. Additional goals from her, Alba Redondo, Lai Codina and Jenny Hermoso completed the rout to the delight of the crowd of 43,270. The Spaniards will now play the winners of Sunday's round of 16 game between Netherlands and South Africa. Japan beat Norway 3-1 to move into the Women's World Cup last 8. In a clash between the 2 former champions, the teams were level at the break before Japan pulled away in the second half through goals by Riza Shimuzu and Hinata Miyazawa. The Samurai Blue will face the winner of the round of 16 clash between defending champions United States and Sweden. Super Falcons defender Osinachi Ohale believes nighttime African champions do not have anything to fear when they face England in the round of 16 at the Women's World Cup. Ohale insists that the Super Falcons should be taken seriously after qualifying from a tough group without losing a game. She spoke in an exclusive interview with Channels Television correspondent Cecilia Omogbe in Brisbane, Australia.
Yeah, I mean, we also defeated Australia before we got to the round of 16. And China is China. For me, Nigeria is Nigeria. Yeah, I mean, England is a very good side. They have quality players, no doubt. You know, we also have some quality players to also match up with them. So it's going to be a very big game. It's going to be a very tough game. But I think whoever wants it the more will carry the day.
That's it on sports. Back to you, Kai.
Well, thank you, Chris. Former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, has been sentenced to 3 years in jail over corruption allegations, a verdict that disqualifies him from holding political office. A court in Islamabad found the former minister guilty of not declaring money he had earned from selling state gifts during his tenure as Prime Minister from 2018 to 2022. Mr. Khan has denied the charges and says he will appeal. After the verdict, Mr. Khan was taken into custody from his home in Lahore. Mr. Khan was elected in 2018 but was ousted in a no-confidence vote last year after falling out with the military. The court also imposed a fine of 100,000 rupees. Mr. Khan is facing more than 100 cases brought against him since being ousted in April 2022, charges which he says are politically motivated. And the main news again. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja, today declared that the Nigerian Army will defend the nation's democracy. Lieutenant General Lagbaja, who said this at the passing out parade of the Executive Commission Course 1 of the Army School of Infantry, Jaji, Kaduna State, also warned officers to remain apolitical in the discharge of their constitutional responsibilities. Well, that's the news at 10 for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode Ikilu. Good night.